Alright, I am back with another Destiny video, and guess what I'm talking about today? The Beyond Light expansion. We're about 36 hours in or so. I wrote a first impressions article yesterday, but I wanted to do a first impressions video today, and I'm a little further along than I was when I did the first article. I've beaten the whole campaign. I've done a good chunk of the post-campaign story kind of stuff, although Stasis unlocks are very grindy and they take a while, so that's going to take a little bit to get through. I did the whole campaign on my second character, my Titan, and then I'm just starting the post-story stuff there. At some point during this video, I'll be running one of the post-story missions with my Titan, so you can see some gameplay instead of just my face, which I know everybody loves. And it's not spoilery. I took subtitles off, and I think it's a good mission to run because I don't think it's very spoilery at all. It's just kind of fighting and using stasis and stuff once you have the subclass unlocked. Overall, I would say my impressions of Beyond Light are very positive so far. There's always some kind of glow, surrounding a new expansion where there's like a honeymoon phase, and then it takes, a couple weeks in to really kind of dig into it and see kind of the overall health of the expansion. Or if you're Reddit, you can wait about 6 hours and then start complaining about this, that, and the other. I will say I do understand a lot of the complaints up front. Sunsetting does feel very weird, both in terms of all the guns that got removed and all the content that got removed. Pretty much half the game and close to, I think, 3/4 of the weapons are gone. And I know, the weapons that are sunset are not technically gone, and you can still use them in Crucible and some things, but generally speaking, there's less stuff that you can use them in than we thought, because I think the even the Vanguard Strike playlists got moved up to be at least higher than the bare minimum power, so you can't take any of that stuff past 1060, so you can't even use it in the Vanguard Strike playlist. This has created kind of very weird situations where there's just so few types of weapons in these different slots. Like there was a quest to get machine gun kills on Europa, and I think there's one legendary machine gun. I think it's the Seraph Saw. I think there might be an upcoming raid machine gun this time around, but literally every other machine gun was sunset, and there are a lot of examples of things that just don't exist anymore. Like there are no void hand cannons or void SMGs anymore. A lot of stuff is gone. That said, that didn't really affect my current builds because, as you can see from the footage, I'm still kind of rocking my Warmind Cell stuff from a couple seasons ago, so that has not changed yet. It will change in the future. Also, I think it's just too early to judge, the new loot that's been added. It is less than Forsaken, certainly. I think someone did the comparison, and that was 75 weapons or something, and this is 30-something. That said, I mean, we have to see how it plays out, and I don't think we can tell this early. Some of the new weapons I've gotten seem interesting. I haven't seen anything that's kind of blown me away yet. I've enjoyed the new exotics so far, although I only have Duality, the shotgun from the Season Pass, and Salvation's Grip, the Stasis grenade launcher. But those have been fun so far. In terms of the actual story of Beyond Light, I thought it was very good. I played through the New Light campaign 2, and playing that and the Beyond Light campaign is interesting because they're pretty Fallen focused for the most part. There's a little bit Hive in New Light, but it really does feel like there's a clear connecting thread through all of this now, and it tells one coherent narrative. I thought they did a good job of kind of explaining the history of the Fallen and how they've been abandoned by the Traveler, and how Aramis is kind of out for revenge and using darkness as a new tool to empower her people, rather than her just being some megalomaniacal dictator. And there's some really good story moments in here, especially with some interactions between Varix and Aramis, who used to be friends, and then he sees her committing war crimes and is yelling at her and is pushing back. And there's some funny story stuff too. I won't spoil this, but in the Salvation's Grip quest, the final quest for that mission is hilarious. It's one of the best non-secret exotic quests I've seen. So narratively so far, I think they've done a solid job. I know there's more to come. We haven't seen any of the seasonal Crow and Aldrin stuff yet, so we have no idea how that's going to go. The mission types themselves are very fun. We now have these things called something hunts. Crap, I cannot remember the name of them. Empire hunts. That's what they're called. Empire hunts. Where they're essentially like barons from the Tangled Shore mixed with nightmare hunts, but they're definitely more involved than nightmare hunts, and they're kind of like mini solo strikes is almost how I would classify them. And they're a lot of fun. I liked a lot of the boss mechanics they introduced, and it seems like these are going to have some sort of role going forward this season as like repeatable things that you do. And then I know there's going to be a different kind of hunt, I think based on the Cosmodrome, where you're hunting down Hive, people from Zivu Arath as part of that storyline. So that's interesting. So the main focus obviously is Stasis, and this is it's complicated because it's still early and we haven't unlocked kind of all the things Stasis can do yet. I just unlocked my first alternate grenade type in the post-story stuff, and I know there's tons of aspects and fragments, and there's going to be a whole system of unlocks to further customize the class. I think I like it. It's kind of disorienting because it's just such a new mechanic that's unlike anything else we've seen. Like previously, Void, Arc, and Solar mainly just kill things. Like they might die in a different sort of animation, but it's just they disintegrate in ash or void juice or arc energy. Like it's not really, there are very few things that actually employ the element other than like some periodic things like chain lightning or void suppression or whatever. Stasis is like a whole new thing where you're creating both frozen enemies and like frozen pillars of stasis energy. I think it's going to take people a long while to get used to some of this stuff. Like I've seen people saying that the Titan Super is underwhelming because it's just Thunder Crash, but with Stasis. But then I saw like a gameplay tester from Bungie saying that like the key to that is actually making a ton of glaciers and then not trying to punch the enemies, but smashing through all the glaciers and creating this like chain reaction explosion that blows up everything around them. The Stasis class is definitely more about crowd control than it is pure DPS. So I am curious how it will be used in kind of higher end content, and it still seems like things like Well and Bubble are going to be absolutely mandatory, and Golden Gun. So it's a little hard to see Stasis replacing those. Stasis gets a little confusing where it seems to work really well on like kind of rank and file enemies, but freezing bosses is kind of odd. Like I'm never sure if I can fully freeze a boss and if I've shot it, with enough stasis energy, or if I need to keep going because it goes away so quickly, and like you can't shatter a boss really. So like you freeze it and then you shoot it, and then the shots are all like kind of crits, and then the stasis goes away. So it's just kind of weird and disorienting to use on bosses. And then all of this is to say nothing of PvP, which is just like a hilarious disaster right now. People are ranging from like just laughing about it to actually mad. It's just crazy. It's what everyone thought would happen. It sucks getting frozen. Like it sucked in the campaign in PvE. It really sucks in Crucible, where being frozen is essentially like you're dead. You can't move for a few seconds. So in PvP, obviously that's enough time for you to just die being shot normally. B, if you've been shot, at all, and you go into being frozen with no health and you breaking out hurts you a lot, so you'll probably just die from that. And and you can be frozen in all number of ways. Like there are projectile stasis melees, there are seeking stasis grenades you can unlock later. These will pull you out of your super even, like, and allow you to be one shot essentially from your super. It is not remotely balanced for PvP to the point where it almost feels like they didn't even try and they just kind of wanted to see how it would go. I do not know what they're going to do with that, if anything. Like, I think this has kind of convinced people that Bungie's kind of just thrown their hands up about PvP and just are content letting that kind of be nuts and just focusing on what makes PvE more fun. I'm very curious to see kind of how Stasis evolves. It is a little weird because like, they're saying, you added this new elemental damage type, and yet there's only one Stasis exotic. There's no there's no fourth elemental type for normal weapons at all. There's no enemies with Stasis shields. So it's not really a fourth element type, if you know what I mean. Like it's a fourth subclass, maybe this will change in time, and like maybe it'll get too complicated if there's 4 to 6, different elements instead of the 3 we have now. But I mean, other games get away with systems like that, so I don't think it's impossible. But that just kind of struck me as something weird about the debut of Stasis here, because it's not really a full element. I am curious to see when the other subclasses are going to be adapted to the Stasis aspect and fragment system. Right now, it seems very weird to have these like normal trees for those, and then have Stasis exist, and then it's kind of bare bones right now. There's no real modifiers for it, but then it's going to get kind of really complicated and extremely not convoluted, but like more complex in terms of all the different things you can line up. And I was just thinking about all the PvP problems we're having, and we haven't even unlocked stuff like the hunter dodge that like can slow and freeze you, and things that are just going to be such a nightmare. Oh my god, I can't wait. It's going to be a disaster. All in all, I'm enjoying it. I'm getting to some pretty grindy steps in terms of the higher end Stasis unlocks. Like I now have to freeze 60 enemies and gambit and stuff. And it's just, I don't know, it's not like the most enjoyable stuff. But there are a number of actually good post-campaign missions. All of this stuff really wants you to stay on Europa and do a lot of stuff on Europa. And I feel like there's only so many lost sectors you can run, and then redoing the Empire Hunts costs currency that is not super readily available. So if you need to get those done, it might take some time. And like Varix has a whole unlock system, most of which is hidden in question marks right now, but I'm slowly been unlocking that. I don't quite know where all the loot is yet. Just playing like regular playlist activities, I have seen new loot starting to drop there. Just randomly, I'd say once every 3 matches or so, I get a new weapon from the expansion or the season. That isn't one from the campaign. And I'm going to have to wrap up this video soon because they're going to start tearing the roof off the house next door to me. So I am kind of getting to the end here, but these are kind of my initial impressions of Beyond Light, where the sunsetting stuff is not amazing, but I'm not like freaking out about it yet. I want to see what loot does. Stasis is fun. It's definitely fun in PvE. It is a mess in PvP, and I'm curious what will change with that. But I don't know. There's going to be a lot more to talk about. I feel like I've kind of barely, scratched the surface of what's going to be happening over the full course of the season, even if I have finished the campaign and a lot of missions there. The raid's going to be here in a week and a half or whatever it's going to be. I am not doing a day 1 race, but I will be watching and definitely seeing how that goes. So I'm very curious to see that and all the weapons and armor and stuff for that. So yeah, I'm having fun. I might have to put this down a little bit and play some Godfall and Spider-Man and Call of Duty and finish Valhalla. It's a week. So we'll see how this goes. But fortunately, Destiny, there's no real urgency unless you're doing the raid race. So I'll probably start taking my time a little bit after this. But yeah, I hope you're having fun. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't yet. And yeah, I'll see you next time. Appreciate it.